31 male and I 25 female are getting married soon. There wasn't much that I disagreed on during the wedding planning except for food. My family and I are vegans and there are so many reasons we chose this lifestyle. One of which is that we have a history of health issues. My fiancé and his family are the complete opposite. They're hardcore meat eaters, which is fine by me. However, I wanted to add 4 to 5 vegan options when deciding on the wedding food menu. My fiancé and his mom objected, saying it was a waste of money over food. That isn't real. They also argued that this would be offensive for their guest and suggest that my vegan options be the good old salads and appetizers. His mom wanted cupcakes, lol. I said no, because for one, it's my family and me who are paying, and two, I want to make my guests feel welcome and not to be treated as second-class citizens by being served salad. My fiancé made a face and said, "Isn't that what vegans eat?" I refused to argue about it and said it was final. The other day, I found out that he had canceled all the vegan options and took them off the menu entirely behind my back. I was seething. I called him at work but he kept hanging up on me. I went straight to his workplace, confronted him there and flipped down on him. He was stunned to see me. He at first said it was his mom's idea and then told me to go home because I was making a scene at his office. The fight continued at home and he defended himself by saying that I sort of made him resort to doing this after I kept brushing off his thoughts and input and refusing to accommodate his family. But there are plenty of meat options. Why can't I get 4 to 5 vegan options when I'm paying for it? He yelled that it was his wedding too. Not my family's. My family said it was fine and they'll figure it out and told me to let it go. But I refused. Am I the idiot for putting my foot down on this? Not the idiot. So he has no clue what vegans actually eat and no interest in learning. He believes having food for your family is offensive to theirs while having no food for your family is perfectly fine. He doesn't respect your input and your money. He makes decisions about matters important to you behind your back, either can't stand up to his mom or uses her as a scapegoat. There's a lot of things to be really angry about. Why are you marrying this guy again? The other very toxic trait is hanging up when she calls him to discuss something important to her. What an absolute child. OP is about to marry. Wait until you have kids. He and his mother are going to drive you insane. She'll look back at this moment realizing it should have been her sign to run. Imagine, God forbid, the kids have allergies that stop them from eating things that everybody takes for granted like peanuts or certain fats. I can already see mother-in-law going, "There's no such thing as an allergy too." I'm not the breakup over anything type of person. But this dude isn't able to handle an adult relationship with mutual respect, and at his age that's worrying. And another worrying thing is that he's together with a vegan and obviously has no clue what vegans eat. I mean, this sincerely reconsider marrying him. It's not about the food, it's about the secrecy and manipulation, the disrespect for your feelings and the disregard for your money. Yes, OP, please get out. Now, not only are you the one paying for the food, but a wedding is something you plan as a couple. He felt like you and your family's well-being during the catering wasn't as important as his. His mommy says salads and cupcakes are fine. So he cancels any food the family paying can eat. I'd cancel the wedding if I were you. He and his mommy are massive idiots. Story 2. I would consider my 32 male family generational military. We have ancestors that fought in World War I and beyond. I grew up moving from place to place, going long stretches without seeing my father, and I hated it any time I'd say I missed my dad or wished I could see him more. I was quickly told to be quiet and proud of my dad for being a hero. I once was upset we had to move because I was finally making friends and was told not to be selfish. I'm one of 4 kids. My brother and sisters all enlisted at 18. I chose not to. And while I'm not the only person in my extended family to do so, I knew it was disappointing. Originally, I decided not to enlist because I didn't want to be in the military. However, in time after learning more about it, I find the concept predatory and wrong. I've never told my family this. I went to college, got my dream job and married my wife. We have 2 beautiful daughters, pre-K and pre-tween, because of my own upbringing. I do my best to be at every recital, school concert, soccer game, etc. In addition, I help my eldest with their homework and have special days with them separately. And then as a family recently, I had the opportunity for a promotion that would require traveling 2 weeks out of the month. My wife and I briefly considered it before deciding it wasn't worth it in the long run. We do well financially and the extra money wouldn't be worth her raising our kids alone half the month, and me missing out on so much. The promotion came up during a family party. My father's now retired and he was there when he heard me mention it. He asked why I would want to pass it up. I said, I don't want to miss out on my girls' childhoods or have them feel like I abandoned them. My dad's chest puffed out and he said that was a drive-by. I was confused and he said I had never been quiet about being unhappy as a military kid. He went on a rant about him not being an absent dad. And I was an ungrateful brat, not patriotic, telling me to move to Canada if I hated America so much. I said, I don't hate America. I hated growing up without a physically present father. He said he was fighting for our country and I said that was a choice and I'm allowed to not agree with it. My wife, my kids and I left shortly after. My wife agrees with my point but said I was an idiot for wording my reasons for not taking the promotion as I did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your dad's insecure childish reaction says it all. It's also guilt that he would never admit. Any decent dad would have said, "I didn't know me being gone so much caused you a lot of pain, and it makes me sad. I made the best decision about my career and responsibility, but I know that it had some major drawbacks. I'm glad you get to be a father who gets to be around for your kids since that's important to you. You're a great father by putting your children's lives first. Being present in their upbringing will forever be better than any job promotion." Your father got defensive because he knew you were right. Don't listen to him. You are doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to put your children first, and you're not an ungrateful brat. It's not your fault. He chose war over his son. He can't handle the truth. Funny, you'd think a military man would have thicker skin and be able to hear hard truths. I'm sorry your childhood was sacrificed, but I can see why your dad believes what he does. If he's generational military, he was spoon-fed patriotism from birth. But don't make that your problem. You and raise your family the way you like. Good for you. Story 3. My grandparents own a big old cabin where every generation after them has enjoyed annual family vacations. Due to the cabin's age, constant maintenance needs to be done every time we've replaced, fixed, or repaired something. There's another thing that needs fixing. We also started slowly renovating the cabin as the interior has become quite dated. These costs have become too much for my grandparents to handle alone, especially since their age means they can't do much of the work themselves and they need to hire professionals. Instead, this has caused them to implement a fee system. The rule is as follows: every person from the age of 20 must pay an annual fee to be allowed to stay at the cabin. The size of the fee varies as it's calculated according to how many people plan on using the cabin and how high the upkeep costs were the previous year. I've happily paid this fee since the rule was implemented, and so have my parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins every summer. My extended family tries to find a weekend during the summer where most of our vacations overlap so that we can all meet at the cabin and catch up. So I decided to invite my girlfriends along as I wanted to introduce her to this tradition, as she's someone I imagine spending many future summers at the cabin with. She was ecstatic about the idea of meeting my extended family and going to the cabin, and she's very curious about it, after hearing me talk about it a lot. Naturally, I sat her down and told her about the rule and how she needed to pay as everyone else paid, and it was only fair for her to do since she'd be using the cabin when coming with me this year. Unfortunately, this year's fee is around $200 to $400 depending on how many people use the cabin due to a big roof leak and some pretty substantial water damage. The idea of paying this fee upset her, and we had a big argument where she concluded by saying she'd make other plans without me this summer. The rule is straightforward and made completely fair to everyone. I don't understand why she thinks she should be exempt from it. My brother told me I should pay her fee for her as my extended family really would like to meet her, but I don't really think that's fair for me to pay double the fee when she's completely capable of paying it herself. Am I the idiot? Hey, baby, I love you and my family would love to meet you now that we've gotten serious. Now, would you like to pay to meet my family with cash or credit? You are the idiot. She's perfectly within her rights not to want to spend $200 to $400 for a weekend at a shared broken-down cabin. It's not her family's property. She has no emotional attachments to it, and she may never reap the benefits of fixing it up. This if she pays the fee and she only visits this one time NOP, and she break up. Is she entitled to use the rest of her contribution? Hi. Any refunds? Dude, she's your guest. Not a family member who agreed to pay into the communal fund. Paying $200 to $400 to stay in a crappy cabin for a weekend with a bunch of strangers is an absurd ask. She might be expected to contribute if she ever chooses to marry OP. But as long as she's not part of the family, she shouldn't be expected to pay. I mean, would P also expect her to pay half his rent at his place if they're living separately just because she occasionally visits his home and she's already made plans this summer without him? I don't blame her. In Scotland, a common phrase goes, he peels an orange in his pocket, which means someone is so cheap they don't want anyone to see them peel an orange for fear someone may ask for a segment, usually kind of reserved for outrageously cheap or miserly behavior. You would be described as peeling oranges in your pocket. P, you're the idiot. No question. However, I'm sure your girlfriend will look forward to many summers spent with you and your cheap, rude family. What a joy for her. Story 4. When I married my soon-to-be ex, she had 4 bio children, 3 boys and a girl, and 2 adopted daughters from Colombia and South Korea. We have 1 child, male toddler in addition. My 2 daughter and son from my previous relationship live with me full-time as their mother doesn't care much about her custody time. I've known my soon-to-be ex Sally's bio children every 2 weeks for the past 4 years. Her 2 adopted daughters live with us as her ex doesn't want anything to do with them as he has the daughter he's always wanted. Sally lived in her mother's mother-in-law suite for now with all of her children. Sally wants to leave her adopted girls with me as part of the divorce proceedings, as she too doesn't want them, as she feels she now has a bio daughter and has no need for them anymore. She's adamant that she should none of them as the adoption agency cheated her. The Korean one is not as Eurasian as she had hoped but had Vietnamese and South Korea. I don't want them as I've never been a father figure and the girls still talk about her ex as their dad despite no contact for so long. I simply can't afford more children than what I already have. I reported her to CPS when she mentioned she would rehome them if I didn't take them. I called CPS on her and they contacted her ex-husband's workplace as he works with children. He's temporarily on unpaid leave while being investigated for neglect. Sally will now be investigated too. In the meantime, CPS has custody of all her children. My son is with me. She's called me every name under the sun and doesn't understand why I won't take them as I have space in my house. An experience with the girl as I have a daughter. She says I overreacted and we could have solved this in a different way. Am I the idiot for reporting to CPS? Those poor kids, they adopted the girls and then had a bio daughter so they no longer need or want them. Who are these awful people? Kids aren't dogs that you be home. I guess you had no other choice and I don't know what else you could do. Not the idiot. What a circus. You never adopted her children. She can't just leave them in your care. You know, she doesn't care for those children anyway since she's wondering why he wouldn't just take them since he has the space taking in. Not one but two kids is the same as making some space in your home for an extra sofa. She deserves to be investigated and punished by CPS. Not only because rehoming her kids after she gave birth to a daughter is extremely cruel. Like kids are some collectible items that you discard or exchange when you get a copy, but also because I don't think she's even doing the bare minimum to take care of them. 2 adults taking care of 9 kids is crazy and she seems to lack the love and dedication. You would need to be capable of raising that many kids. Everyone's the idiot here. 8 kids between the 4 of you and then you 2 decide to bring another one into the mix. These poor kids, you are all crap. Parents, kids aren't things you can just get rid of because you finally got the one you want. Everybody's really skimming over the fact that he had another bio child with her when they already had 8 children. Unless they're very, very rich. Don't have to work and have all the time in the world to spend with 9 children, including a newborn. In what universe does that sound like a good idea? I feel sorry for all those kids. Reader Logic Man, agreed. Everyone's the idiot here. Story 5. My dad learned about this last week but I got the award at the start of May. Background. My parents are divorced and until I was 7, my parents shared custody of me. My dad was remarried at the time and had 3 stepkids. His oldest stepkid's dad was moving for work and she wanted to move with them, and the court said she could. However, my dad's wife didn't want to be apart from her oldest or to separate her 3 kids, so she wanted to move as well. When Dad told me I begged him to stay, he told me he had to be with his family and that them staying was not an option. So I told him he could stay for me, but again, he said no. So he moved with them. And then I went from seeing him all the time to seeing him for a few weeks in the summer. I never forgave him for moving over the years. They attempted to make it appealing for me to live with them, saying I'd have siblings all the time and how great it was there and stuff. But I never wanted to leave my mom and I was too mad that he picked them over me. So I faded from him over time. I only speak to him during court-mandated times and I don't see him unless I absolutely have to. He tries, but his choice was made when he moved. And my opinion on that is unchanging. My dad found out via Facebook about the award. Unfortunately, my school and he put the photos up a week ago and my dad was really upset. He told me that he or they could have flown out to show support and it would have been a nice extra visit for us. I asked him what was the point that his choice was made 9 years ago and that they were more important and my life didn't involve them anymore. He went on about him being my dad and deserving to know and how proud he was, etc. And why couldn't I see that? And why was I out to hurt him? I told him I wasn't trying to hurt him but that I was never going to have that relationship he wanted after he left me to be with his family. And that all choices have consequences, which he and my mom taught me, and that now he's living with his and that his daughter doesn't want a relationship with him anymore. His wife called afterward and told me I should have told him. And regardless of how I feel, he has a right to know. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot he chose to leave you. I think the bigger idiot here is the wife. She wanted to move to be near her daughter but couldn't care less about him not getting to be near his daughter. Her daughter chose to leave her mom to be with her dad. You didn't choose to leave your father, you got left behind. So no, you don't owe him anything. He left to be with his new family without thinking about what it would do to your relationship with him. If the wife calls you again, tell her that all of this results from her being selfish when her daughter decided to leave her. Imagine looking your 7-year-old child in the face and saying I can't stay here and be your dad. I have to move to be with my family and not expect there to be consequences. Big. Not the idiot what you have there, babes, isn't a petty grudge, that's trauma and it's valid. If I were you, I'd block him on Facebook and from your phone. He doesn't get to quite literally leave you in the dust and then attempt to guilt you into a relationship he hasn't earned and doesn't deserve anything from you.